Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Daniel Hood Roofing. When it comes to a new roof, you can either get ahead of the game, increase the home value, and protect yourself versus storms, or you can wait for a storm to do damage and hope that your insurance company doesn't fight you too hard on damages. Be smart. Call Daniel Hood Roofing today for a free estimate. DanielHoodRoofing.com to read all their testimonials from dozens and dozens of East Tennesseans like you. Simple question, fellows. Game day's coming to town. It's 3:30. Tennessee is undefeated. They're going to be crawling toward the top 10. They're already 15th. Florida has a loss, but they've beaten you 16 out of the last 17 times. It's a big game. Big game. A lot of people are going to be focused on it. What's riding on this? How big is it? What specifically you're saying, boy, if you win, boom, or if you lose, ugh. Bob, where are you?
I'm going to go with national relevancy again. If you can get the 4-0, if you can beat Florida, you're going to probably climb up a little bit more into that top 15 somewhere.
You're 15 now, so you'll be closing on the 10.
So you'll get a little bit higher. But I think it's been a long time since Tennessee has been relevant. And I think this is the kind of game that gets you back to people across the country knowing what Tennessee is, who Tennessee is.
You'd also get, with an open date after that, you'd have 2 weeks of coverage of Tennessee's win and going to build up for LSU.
And then you get to climb in the polls the next week because somebody in front of you is going to lose, so you get to jump up
without playing.
Yeah.
You may also, if you win this one, you may be looking at another 3:30 at LSU. Sterling, what's riding on this game?
You took it right out of my brain, John P. The fact that we have an undefeated September. When have we had an undefeated? How long has it been since we had an undefeated September? We've got a situation where, and we're going into an off week. That's been on my mind since the schedule came out. Mm-hmm. Undefeated September and an off week. That's 2 weeks of just elation for our fan base and our Tennessee faithful, and confidence for our players. 4-0, man. And then the next game is 2 weeks getting healed and going into Death Valley. That's a big deal. So that's a big deal for me.
I think confidence for the fan base is needed too, just from a psychological factor. How many times can you get to the precipice and then a trap door opens? I mean, even you go back to the last time you beat Florida, you beat Georgia too that year, and then you lose to South Carolina and Vandy. I mean, this fan base is like, it's been kicked around like a dog, and at some point the dog just cowers. The fan base needs this. They need this victory. Chuck, what's riding on this?
Well, I mean, just about everything to me. I mean, it's almost beyond huge, because when you look at this game, you kind of wonder, if not now, when? If you can't get Florida this season at home with their coaching change and their depth isn't quite as good, your program's on the rise. People can see it. You're getting better. So I'm looking at this as saying Florida's gettable. You need to get them now, because it's only going to get tougher to beat them. 16 out of 17, I'm tired of hearing that. You got to win this, just like everybody else says. You're 4-0, you rest up, heal up, and now we see what happens.
Well, I think you make a good point there. There was a nugget. Well, I enjoyed the whole thing, but there's a nugget in there that really stood out, and that is, getting past Florida. This program fell beneath Florida. It was always beneath Florida in terms of even Spurrier had your number. But you fell behind South Carolina. For a couple of years, you fell behind Missouri. If you want to get back to that national relevancy, now, we talked about it on the show, Florida's had 5 coaches in the last 12 years or something too, just like Tennessee. They haven't won a championship in the SEC in, 15, 14 years? They're not the Florida that everyone seems to think. It's like, well, you got Alabama and Georgia and Florida. No, Florida's not in that crew anymore. You have a chance to not only help yourself, but let's put our foot on their head, push them down under the water a little bit.
Well,
in the recruiting battle, to beat them,
give
yourself
a head
to
what I was
win.
getting ready
across
to say.
the board. The board.
I mean,
well, that isn't a good answer on a television show, because that just kills the segment. What's riding on this? Everything. Great, thanks, John.
You got to go a little bit farther, obviously, through the season, but this gives you a chance to say, okay, we're trying to come up on Georgia. Now, you still got Kentucky.
Right,
you still got a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But this maybe puts you in that position where you can say, okay, that's the gap we got to close. Because even though you've been better than Florida a lot of these years, just like you said, you're still closing the gap on them, even when you're better than they are.
Now, that's the perception.
Yes,
you can,
that's the perception.
This
Exactly.
can help change the perception. We got to catch a break, but I'll throw out one more thing. A big bowl game. And Jared Palm was predicting that Tennessee to the Sugar Bowl. Here's the deal. If Tennessee is going to get to the Sugar, Orange, Rose, I don't know who the playoff. I think all three of those are available this year. They're not playoff games, I don't believe. But anyway, if you're wanting to get to one of those New Year's 6 bowl games, even though the Sugar isn't on New Year's this year, but if you're wanting to get to one of those and you figure you're going to lose to Alabama and Georgia, you really can't lose another one. So maybe if things fell your way, you could get into one of those at 9-3. But this game is important. If you're thinking New Orleans or Miami for a huge bowl jump for this program, you got to win this one. This is a huge game for that reason as well. All right, when we come back, where do the Vols rank in the SEC? That's got to be climbing. And then also our VFLs answer some questions about next week Tennessee-Florida game, and will they, won't they? Come on back.